The Maya created the most elaborate calendar system of any culture in the world.
You probably think the Mayan prophecy was just a big hoax that failed years ago. But if you take away all the noise, you find a very different story. The Maya were obsessed with cycles and circles. They saw a time coming when the energy of the world would change completely.
We should be very wary of what will happen in 2012. Their calendar runs for over 5,000 years, and then it abruptly stops on December 21st in 2012.
Scientists have now mapped this cycle and realized it perfectly matches the weird things happening in our weather and our world today. Plain and simple, we are living through the real prophecy right now. It is a transition that is much worse than 2012 because it is actually happening. Hidden timeline of the Maya. They told you the world was supposed to end in 2012. December 21st, the winter solstice, the day the ancient Mayan calendar supposedly ran out. Do you remember the movies, the documentaries, the panic, people building bunkers, and websites counting down the seconds? It was an entire industry of fear built around a single date carved into stone thousands of years ago by a group of people most folks could not find on a map. And then nothing happened. December 22nd arrived. The sun rose. People went to work. The big fear machines quietly packed up and moved on to the next story. And the world learned a lesson. The Maya were wrong, except they were not. We are here to fix one of the biggest mistakes of the modern age. Here is the part that trips everyone up. The Maya never said the world would end in 2012. Not once, not ever. That date was not an ending, it was a beginning. It was the start of a new cycle, a transition period that the Maya believed would last decades. And according to their math, we are in the middle of it right now. The Maya did not see a quick fire. They saw a change, a time of big shifts and new starts that would happen slowly over 20 years. And they were not alone. 500 miles to the north, in the heart of what is now Mexico City, another group was carving its own warnings into stone. The Aztecs called our current time the fifth sun, and they were very specific about how it would end. Not with fire, not with water, but with movement. They saw earthquakes and the earth itself turning against people. Tonight, we are going to look at what the Maya and Aztecs actually said. Not the Hollywood version, but the real words from the old books. And what we find is scary because these two groups saw the same future. It is a future that looks a lot like what we see on the news today. To understand the Maya, you first have to understand what they loved most. Time. The Maya did not just keep track of time, they feared it. They built their whole world around it. While people in Europe were still arguing if the Earth was flat, Mayan stargazers had figured out the length of the year to within 30 seconds of what we know today. They tracked the planet Venus with almost perfect accuracy. They saw eclipses coming hundreds of years away. They did this without any of the tools we use today. It was just math and patience. This was not just a guess. This was deep, hard science. They believed time was a wheel, not a straight line. The same patterns and energies come back again and again like the seasons or the moon. If you could understand the circles, you could see what was coming. This is why they had over 17 different calendar systems. The one that made them famous is the long count. It worked like a giant odometer on a car measuring days from a start date over 5,000 years ago. When it hit the end of 13 cycles in 2012, it did not mean the world would explode. It just meant the numbers rolled over and started a new big count. Wait, there is one big problem with the 2012 story. Most folks have no idea that the apocalypse story was made up by authors in the 1970s. They took the Mayan date and added their own ideas about space aliens and magic. Then Hollywood made big movies with lots of crashes and water. In all that noise, the real Mayan voice was lost. When you talk to modern Maya people living today, they will tell you that the end of a cycle is just a change. Think of it like New Year's Eve. December 31st is not the end of time. It is a moment to look back and look ahead. But the flip does not happen in 1 second. The Maya said this flip takes about 20 years. That means from 2012 to 2032, we are in a stormy middle part. We are not after the prophecy. We are inside it. Will the secrets in the old books show us what happens next? Prophecies of the Jaguar Priests. Now we have to look at the real words left behind. These are not just numbers. These are specific warnings written by Mayan priests. The most important source is a group of books called the Chilam Balam. The name means the words of the jaguar priest. These books were written down a few hundred years ago, but they have stories that are much older. They were passed down by mouth for a long time before being put on paper. These books talk about the 20-year cycles. The cycle we are in right now is called Katun for Ahau. It started in 2012 and ends around 2032. The words in these books are very strong. They talk about the green bird coming and blood vomit. Most experts think blood vomit means a big sickness or a plague. The Maya had seen things like this before. The books say this is the time of the speaking Lord and that there will be sadness among the years. It says the face of the sun will be covered. This could mean eclipses or maybe smoke from fires making the sky dark. Then it says the sky will be divided. Have you looked up lately? The weather does not act like it used to. The seasons have lost their beat. Maybe the sky is already splitting apart. The prophecy also says there will be less corn and food. It talks about big hunger and crops failing. It even says the leaders will be stuck and will not be able to agree on anything. The chiefs will be scattered and will not know what to do. Think about those words. They were written hundreds of years ago to describe our time. Does any of that sound like what is happening now? Most people look right past another important book called the Dresden Codex. It is one of the only books that survived when the Spanish burned all the others. There is one page in this book that has scared people for a long time. It is page 74. It shows a giant flood. A big snake is in the sky and water is pouring out of its mouth. It is not just rain, it is a huge wave. Below the snake is a goddess holding a jar and more water is pouring out of it. The cities are being covered. Everything people built is being washed away. Some people say this is just an old story about the past, but everything else in that book is about the future. Why would this one page be different? Believe it or not, it gets even weirder. This image of water from the sky shows up in stories all over the planet. Other people from different times saw the same thing. They saw the oceans rising and cities being lost under the waves. The Maya also believed in 9 lords of the night. These are gods who rule the world below us. They represent change and death and being born again. They are not bad, but they are very powerful. An old stone found at a place called Tortuguero says that when the cycle ends, these 9 gods will come down to earth. The stone is broken, so we do not know the end of the sentence, but we know the gods are coming. This means the wall between worlds is getting thin. The things that were hidden are starting to show up. Could the shaking earth be the next sign we cannot ignore? Death of the 5th sun. 500 miles away, the Aztecs were building their own giant city. They were not as old as the Maya, but they used many of the same ideas. They believed the world had been made and destroyed 4 times before us. Each time was called a sun. The first sun was ended by jaguars. The second sun was ended by giant windstorms that were like hurricanes. The third sun was ended by fire raining down from the sky, and the fourth sun was ended by a massive flood that covered the whole world. The Aztecs believed that only a few people survived each time by turning into animals or hiding in trees. This brings us to our world, the 5th sun. The Aztecs called our time the Sun of Movement. The name tells us everything we need to know. It does not end with wind or fire. It ends with the earth moving. The Aztec stories say there will be big earthquakes. The world will shake itself until it falls apart. The ground will not be something we can trust anymore. But the word they used for movement also means change and being unstable. It means the world as we know it will start to wiggle and crack. It is a time when the things we thought would last forever start to break. This could mean literal earthquakes, but it also means the way we live will change in a big way. The foundations of our world are starting to show cracks. Most folk have no idea that the Aztecs thought this was going to happen for sure. It was not a guess. They believed every age had to end so a new one could start. They even had a special god named Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent. He was a god of wisdom and learning. He was different because he did not want people to be hurt. He wanted people to give flowers and songs instead. The story says he left a long time ago but promised to come back from the east. When the Spanish soldiers arrived in 1519, the Aztec leader thought it might be the god returning. This mistake helped the soldiers take over the whole empire, but many people today say those soldiers were not the real god, they were a fake version. The real return of wisdom is still supposed to happen. The Aztecs had a giant rock called the Sunstone. It is 12 feet wide and weighs 20 tons. It is a map of time. In the middle is the face of the sun god with a knife for a tongue. Around him are the symbols of the 4 worlds that died. The message is simple. We are living on the ruins of people who came before us. Our world is the 5th one, and it will eventually end just like the others. The sun god's knife tongue is a reminder that the sun needs energy to keep moving. If we do not change or give what is needed, the sun will stop and the darkness will come. Is it possible that every ancient culture was seeing the same disaster? When you put the Maya and the Aztecs together, you see a very clear picture. Both groups lived in the same area and shared many ideas. They both saw time in circles. They both said our current time is a big flip. They both saw hunger, floods, and the earth shaking. But the most interesting part is that this pattern goes way beyond Mexico. Other people from all over the world who never met the Maya said the exact same thing. We have looked at 5 different people who lived in different countries and different centuries. They all pointed to this exact same time in history. One person from France saw empires falling and leaders running away. Another person from England said the oceans would rise and the weather would get very strange, with hot and cold days mixed up. Someone from America saw the map of the world changing as the water moved the land. Even a woman from Bulgaria said that natural disasters would happen much more often in the years after 2020. Think about that for a second. 7 different groups of people who did not know each other all said the same thing. They all saw a time of big trouble and change happening right now. They all saw the climate acting up and the leaders losing control. If the world is truly moving into a new age of chaos, are you ready for the flip? Tell us what you think in the comments. Please like this video and subscribe to help us share more hidden stories. Would you like me to do a deep dive into the specific Aztec rituals meant to stop the shaking?